Kim Kardashian is getting called out right now after posting a video wearing a corset where her waist looks dangerously small. Kim posted a video to her Instagram of her wearing a corset that made her waist look wildly small. In the caption, she explained it was a photo that she took on a special trip to London when she had it specially made for her by Mr. Pearl. She said she wore a similar one to the Met Ball, but it was misplaced, so she flew to London to meet with him. She just had to have it. She finished her caption by saying she is making new looks and can't wait to show us what she comes up with. The post was filled with comments about how she is encouraging an unrealistic and unhealthy body image to her followers, and people were literally begging her to stop. But apparently they were also begging actress Jameela Jamil to speak on it. If you don't follow the actress online, she often talks about the unrealistic body standards that other celebrities promote and how much she does not agree with it. So after Kim posted the video, she finally spoke up about it. She posted a screenshot from Kim's video and shared a very long caption with it. I will give you guys a rundown on what it says because it's pretty long. She started by saying that she received over 1,000 DMs of people asking her to speak on it, and she finally decided to because she thinks it is both damaging and disappointing. She was quick to say she is not trying to cancel Kim, but that she wants people to recognize that this is a ridiculous expectation of women, which is developed by the patriarchy. Jamil said it was irresponsible for her to encourage this impossible beauty standard to her fans who heavily look up to her. Part of her caption got very personal and says, I quote, "Kim, like many of us, has had decades of body image issues and obsession. This has been heavily perpetuated by how much the media scrutinized her and her sisters over their appearances. She isn't actively trying to harm you, she's just so harmed and deluded into thinking that this is what she needs to look like to be special and beautiful, and she's spilling it out onto her following. Is this wrong? Yes, but I'm not sure she realizes that she's doing to others what her idols did to her in making her think a tiny waist is the key to femininity and sex appeal." Now, in all honesty, this is not the first time someone in Hollywood has posted something like this that showed an unrealistic body frame, but maybe this one is going too far. Jamil also pointed out that we as followers and fans play a part in this, which I thought was a really interesting perspective. She said, "The smart thing to do is to protect yourself. You have the power, you control every market. You choose what and who is trendy. Unfollow the people who tell you things that hurt your self-esteem. Don't let the debris of their damage spill out onto you. Unfollow people and brands that don't make you feel powerful and happy and grateful for what you have. The patriarchy wants us to focus on our weight instead of power, equality, and psychological freedom. F anyone who encourages this. Block, mute, delete, repeat." I honestly get what her point is with this. Kim's post received so many comments, and even if they're negative, you're still giving her social media engagement and it's just feeding into the publicity. By following her, liking pictures, commenting on posts, honestly, that is all part of the hierarchy. Now, I also do agree that I don't think Kim is purposely trying to harm people. I just don't think she sees the corset video as something harmful. As someone who has personally struggled with body dysmorphia, I really do see how this could be harmful to other women. It's not just Kim though, it's honestly all of the Hollywood media that can make people feel that you're as beautiful as the celebrity you adore if you look the way they do. Like growing up, I remember all I did was look at magazines and I would compare myself to the girls in the magazines, because to me, from a girl, it was like, I can only be in the magazine if I look like the girl in the magazine.
Khloe Kardashian is being harshly criticized over a selfie that she recently posted to Instagram. Yes, I'm about to do an entire IO about a selfie. When I first saw Khloe Kardashian's selfie where she debuted her new look, as some people are saying, I was like, wow, okay, there's gonna be some backlash. I know this for certain. Her face looked completely different. She looked noticeably thinner and her hair was totally different. She looked amazing though. I'm not denying that. She looked really, really amazing in this photo. But she also looked unrecognizable. I knew that there was gonna be backlash. Like I waited 15 minutes and then all of a sudden all of those like exposing celebrity Photoshop accounts started posting side-by-sides of her. I knew it. And I knew I was gonna talk about it this week on IO. Here are the side-by-sides. Khloe Kardashian selfie next to what she looks like when she's photographed by paparazzi and red carpet photographers. That's different. She looks different. That's all I'll say. I'm gonna say more, but anyways. Part of me was like, okay, maybe she got like a ton of work done. Maybe she has been working out a lot and she lost a bunch of weight. She does look noticeably thinner in that photo, and losing a ton of weight would make your face look different. I mean, look at Adele. Look how different she looks after she lost all that weight. I'm not sure that losing all that weight would totally change the shape of your jaw though. Like, it'll definitely change the shape of your squishy here, but not the literal jawline. You can't shave off your jawbone. I think you can only shape it to look a little bit more, you know, refined. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on plastic surgery by any means, but I'm pretty sure they can't get rid of your jawbone. There was also very obvious Photoshop in this photo that was pointed out by social media users. If you look at the necklace she's wearing, she accidentally blurred out one side of it when she was editing, so her necklace only has one string. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that Khloe Kardashian is an avid user of Photoshop. All the Kardashians are. She uses it a lot more than everyone else, I feel like. I honestly think that she might do this because of insecurity. I mean, look at the rest of her family. The Kardashians are the ones setting the modern beauty standards for women, but they all use Photoshop. I feel like she feels like she has to use editing apps in order to keep up with her sisters. It's heartbreaking though, like it's sad that she feels like she has to do that. But I mean, it's like she gets backlash if she does and she gets backlash if she doesn't, so. Now, I will be honest, when I first saw this photo, there was a lot of backlash in the comments. It seems that Khloe has been deleting the negativity and all that's left is pretty much people just praising her, including Tristan Thompson and her mother. Here's what I could find on Twitter. First of all, Khloe Kardashian gave herself an entire new face. She took the touching up to an entire new level. Second of all, she forgot to Photoshop her necklace chain too. Girlie, you ain't fooling anybody. I know the Kardashian family is 50% Photoshop, but that Khloe Kardashian picture is f***ing scary, dude. Does Khloe Kardashian have someone to just Photoshop her pictures into the next dimension, or... That one was a little funny. Khloe Kardashian, you really don't need Photoshop, sweetheart. Okay, call me crazy, but I kind of feel like Khloe Kardashian and Tana Mongeau are using the same editing apps. Maybe not lately. Tana Mongeau's been pretty good about it lately. But remember when Tana posted that photo of her from the red carpet and she looked completely unrecognizable? Here's a screenshot of the photo that she posted next to a side-by-side shot of the real photo that was taken by Getty Images photographers. Kind of looks like Khloe Kardashian's recent selfie, doesn't it? Like they're both kind of missing part of their jaw. Anyways, just my opinion. Sort of feel like all of them are using like special apps that you can get in Korea or something like that. This kind of thing isn't uncommon for social media users in like Asia. They've been doing it for a really long time. It's just like, it's crazy to see how drastic it is.
Madonna is being called a hypocrite by fans after she was exposed for traveling to 5 countries in the last 3 weeks in the middle of the second wave of the deadly coronavirus pandemic. The situation's been made worse by the fact that she posted a video naked in a bathtub in March of 2020, calling the coronavirus the Great Equalizer. But since the star's jet-setting around the world, while most people are struggling to pay their bills, it shows that we are not all equal in the fight against coronavirus. So the Daily Mail just released that Madonna visited 5 countries in the last 3 weeks, clocking up a massive 11,707 air miles, despite travel bans and lockdowns for most of the world. As for her travel itinerary, she started out flying from LA to London on December 24th. Then she flew from London to Egypt days later on December 28th. Then flying to Malawi and Kenya after, staying a few days in between for each. All this flying is said to be for her lavish winter trip, celebrating the holiday season and the new year abroad. The 62-year-old singer has also been kept company by her family members and boyfriend, Malik Williams, including 5 of her children. It's also believed that her personal photographer, Ricardo Gomez, was also flown out to capture the holiday as well, with all of them getting around on her private jet. And if you're wondering how we have all this information about where she's been and who she's with, well, she's not hiding it whatsoever, and she's posting about her lavish trip constantly on her Instagram. The craziest part is that most of her fans seem to be fine with all the traveling. And although there are some hate comments on some of her posts, the vast majority of comments are positive. Not sure if that's because she's been deleting comments or blocking the criticism. Who knows? Critics of the singer have also been bringing up her bathtub video that she posted in March of 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. In the very strange video, Madonna is naked in a milky bathtub and talks over a piano, saying, quote, "That's the thing about COVID-19. It doesn't care about how rich you are, how famous you are, how funny you are, how smart you are, where you live, how old you are, what amazing stories you can tell." Adding, quote, "It's the great equalizer, and what's terrible about it is what's great about it." Finishing off the video saying, quote, "Like I used to say at the end of Human Nature every night, we are all in the same boat." and if the ship goes down, we're all going down together. But at that time, Madonna fans did not feel as positively about the video as she hoped, and negative comments calling out the singer flooded in like, quote, "Sorry my queen, love you so much, but we're not equal. We can die from the same diseases, but the poor will suffer the most. Do not romanticize nothing of this tragedy." Another said, quote, "If the ship is going down, do you really think we're going down together while you're in your bathtub having people working for you to be there? I love you, my queen, but things outside your mansion are very different from what you think. Stay safe and be a little more empathetic to the less privileged ones." And it seems like the backlash was too much for her to handle, as the video is now deleted off of her Instagram. And even though we are singling out Madonna with this video, we are well aware that she is not the only celebrity traveling unnecessarily during this time and taking advantage of her celebrity status to legally skirt around the quarantine rules. And that's why I want to ask you guys your thoughts on celebrities and even regular people traveling during the pandemic. Because even though it is definitely wrong, there's legally nothing stopping them from doing so, right? So at this point, should we be mad at the celebrities or lawmakers? I think we can be mad at celebrities for being hypocrites, but we should also take note that we are all locked down in our cities, but there's nothing preventing people who are traveling unnecessarily from spreading the virus and the second strain to our cities, when the vast majority of people, I believe, are following guidelines and isolating themselves. I don't know, I guess that's my little theory on things. However, with the new wave of restrictions that are coming, thankfully they are kind of locking down air travel some more, so I don't think celebrities will kind of be able to get away with this sort of behavior for much longer. Hopefully, because, you know, it's the senseless traveling from city to city, country to country, whatever, that is really, I think, fueling this pandemic even more. Also, let me know if there are celebrities who are traveling to more countries than Madonna though. I think there could be some, but I think that 5 countries in 3 weeks is probably, you know, some sort of record even for a celebrity. I don't think I've heard of someone traveling so much, or at least not publicly documenting it. Like, the fact that she's posting it all over Instagram, it's just like, girl, why? Go on your trip and literally no one would say a word if you just didn't post it. It's the posting part that really gets to me for these influencers. It's like, you can do anything, honestly, and no one would even know about it. But you're like tattletaling on yourself. It's crazy.
Shia LaBeouf has been in the spotlight since he was a kid. At just 10 years old, he started doing stand-up comedy as he sought to be an escape from the hostile environment he grew up in. LaBeouf would then go on to star in the Disney show Even Stevens for 3 seasons, until breaking into the film industry, starring in hits such as Holes, Disturbia, and of course Transformers. And for a while, the future for Shia looked incredibly promising. He was an up-and-coming movie star who had been in the spotlight long enough that everyone got familiar with the name and face, and then everything seemed to go downhill fairly quickly. Odds are, you've heard about the most recent allegations made against LaBeouf, who is being accused by his ex-girlfriend, singer FKA Twigs, of abuse, sexual misconduct, and more. FKA Twigs claimed during their year-long relationship from 2018 until 2019, LaBeouf would act erratically at times. At one point, he was driving recklessly without a seatbelt on and threatened to crash their car. Another instance saw LaBeouf allegedly slamming FKA Twigs against a car at a gas station, screaming at her and attempting to choke her before she agreed to get back in their car. Sources also claim at one point, LaBeouf told FKA Twigs he would drive around Los Angeles shooting stray dogs dead to get into the mindset of a killer for an upcoming role. Clearly these are not actions of someone who is mentally stable, and to no surprise, LaBeouf has admitted to being unstable in the past, relying on both drugs and alcohol, which he has attended rehab for. In regards to the allegations made by FKA Twigs, LaBeouf released a statement to the New York Times in which he said, I quote, "I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, only rationalizations. I have been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history and I'm sorry to those I hurt. There is nothing else I can really say." He then followed up with, many of these allegations are not true, but he is willing to hold himself accountable for his past mistakes. Sources are now claiming that LaBeouf is in a 12-step program and is also getting therapy to help with his mental state. The sad reality is many of Shia's issues stem from his childhood trauma, and that have led to him relying on external sources, in this case drugs and alcohol, to cope with his issues. Now with that being said, it doesn't mean we should brush off the numerous allegations made against him, nor should people see this as taking sides. Instead, I think it's incredibly important to look at what led Shia to where he is today, and what needs to happen moving forward to ensure he not only protects himself, but anyone around him as well. And hopefully by sharing this story, it will help encourage those going down a similar path to seek help sooner than later. As previously mentioned, LaBeouf was a child Disney star, and unfortunately we have seen time and time again, they tend to grow up and end up getting into their fair share of trouble. But it seems it was more than just the pressure from the executives, agents, and managers that led to LaBeouf's career and life to get to the point it's presently at. For those of you who have seen Honey Boy, or at least heard about it, then you likely know it was about LaBeouf's childhood, which saw his alcoholic father abuse him. While in rehab, LaBeouf wrote the script as a form of therapy, and would later turn it into a film, which would premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. Aside from being positively received, it also gave the public a look at what Shia LaBeouf's childhood was like, and it was quite sad. The film's director, Alma Harrell, explained to Deadline back in 2019 that filming the movie was tough for him. I quote, "It was so painful. It was probably the longest 19 days of my life. It's been almost a year since we've been to Sundance and put this film out there for people, and it feels shorter than what it felt to shoot this film. Every day was like breathing in pain and breathing out love and trying to get through it." Someone who saw things firsthand clearly saw the pain that Shia was dealing with even as he grew up by telling the story of his life. And still, when asked about the recent allegations against him, Harrell said that LaBeouf's road to recovery is still not an excuse for his actions. And I'd have to agree with him there. Regardless of what someone is going through, your actions can never be justified if you hurt someone else, either physically or mentally. However, it seems this is an incredibly fine line. Because at what point does someone determine whether or not a person's actions can be attributed to their mental state and just their mental state alone? I'm sure there are plenty of people who are defending Shia, saying that due to his childhood PTSD and addictions, he shouldn't be at fault for his actions. But at the end of the day, you do need to hold yourself accountable for your actions, regardless of the situation, especially when it affects other people as well as yourself. In regards to Shia's situation, it seems there are plenty of factors that led to him being the man he is today. For example, while speaking with Esquire magazine, Shia recalled the time he witnessed his mother being assaulted when he was just 9 years old. I quote him saying, "I froze. The man ran out and my mom ran after him. A neighbor came running over. I remember he had a crossbow." Afterwards, LaBeouf remembered his mother talking with police. I quote him saying, "It was the first time I ever heard the word pubic." That's how she described his facial hair. "The next day at school, I told some kid that his hair looked like pubic hair, and I remember getting in trouble. They never found the guy." It's believed this incident, on top of the pressure of being a child actor and of course his abusive father, led to LaBeouf heavily relying on alcohol to cope. In 2014, LaBeouf was arrested in New York after acting out at Studio 54 Theater and was charged with disorderly conduct, harassment, and criminal trespass. Reports claimed he was acting disorderly, yelling, and being loud. Following the incident, he voluntarily sought out counseling for alcoholism. Unfortunately, this was just the start of things to come. In 2017, LaBeouf had a few run-ins with the law, being sued $5 million by a bartender, and getting arrested after being involved in an altercation with an undercover officer. This incident also led to his racist rant being caught by TMZ, which led to LaBeouf feeling like he was at rock bottom. This is what led to him going to rehab, which is where he would learn of his PTSD and write the film Honey Boy. And although it seemed like following his rehab stint, LaBeouf was in a good place, with talks of him opening a free theater school in LA for those in less fortunate situations, unfortunately he would fall back to old habits. It's possible his 2018 divorce from his ex-wife of 2 years, Mia Goth, led to LaBeouf going back to the old habits that led to him being self-destructive and hurting those around him. Given that he would date FKA Twigs shortly after the divorce, it's starting to all make sense. The sad reality with Shia LaBeouf is that until he's willing to help himself, he's never going to improve his well-being. FKA Twigs initially wasn't going to charge him with anything, but after he refused to seek counseling, her attorneys explained she decided to move forward with the charges. All in all, it's awful that FKA Twigs, along with Sia and the others who have come forward with their own negative experiences in relation to LaBeouf, had to go through what they went through. Hopefully bringing light to the situation will not only make people aware and more cautious of LaBeouf, but will also encourage him to get the help he needs once and for all. As easy as it would be to dismiss LaBeouf and say throw him in jail, the reality is that won't be a solution to the problem. He'll continue with his destructive ways and this downward trend until he's ready to help himself. But until then, unfortunately, we just need to wait and contain Shia, whether that be in a cell or hospital, for him to take the steps to get clean once and for all. It seems he was almost there back in 2018, but unfortunately derailed. I'm not sure what it's going to take this man to change his ways, but I hope he gets the help he needs sooner than later, as I wouldn't want him to hurt anyone else around him or himself ever again.
Hilaria Baldwin has been in the news a ton recently for a reason she wishes that she was not. The yoga instructor, podcaster, and mom has been getting in tons of hot water after she's been accused of faking her Spanish heritage. with sources now claiming she has literally no Spanish heritage and is just a white girl appropriating culture for her benefit. Hilaria Baldwin is currently 36 years old, and up until recently it was widely believed that she was born in Spain, and a big reason as to why was that her own blog said so, with it reading, quote, "Baldwin was born in Mallorca, Spain and raised in Boston, Massachusetts." Then in a 2018 profile with Hola magazine, it describes her as born in Spain, speaking Spanish as her native language. As well, her name is Spanish, so of course people thought this was the case for years. Well, that's until Amy Schumer got involved. And yes, you heard that right. The whole drama actually started with Amy Schumer, as the comedian poked fun at herself by posting a photo of Hilaria with her new baby and joking that it was Amy, with Amy saying in her caption, quote, "Jean and I wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Enjoy with whatever family members are talking to you this year." With the whole point of the joke being that Amy wants to look like Hilaria after she just had her baby. But it seems that Hilaria did not take the joke very well and didn't like how Amy's post was actually not body positive, with people taking aim at her because she is skinny. This prompted Hilaria to post a video to Instagram addressing why the joke made her feel bad. But the big story here isn't about what she said in the video, it's about how she sounded. With people shocked, she sounded like a regular English-speaking white woman with no accent, especially because she's had Spanish accents in the past. And then to top it all off, in the midst of that, this tweet went viral, quote, "You have to admire Hilaria Baldwin's commitment to her decade-long grift where she impersonates a Spanish person." With the replies to the tweet now being flooded with receipts about how Hilaria is faking being Spanish, like one interview right after she married Alec, where she's clearly speaking in a Spanish accent. Then there's another interview where she forgot the English word for cucumber.
We have tomatoes, we have how do you say it? Cucumber.
Then in an interview she actually did very recently, she says that she moved to America when she was 19 to go to NYU.
And a dresser and
So you
and one
moved here
chair.
with your parents?
No. I moved here when I was 19 to go to NYU.
Ah.
And now to get to the bottom of what's actually true. So her parents are not Spanish, but they do live in Mallorca, per page 6 since 2011. But before that, they appear to have lived in Massachusetts. And there are receipts that show that her parents seem to just be American with no roots to Spain, other than just vacationing there a lot. Then some people came out of the woodwork to explain that they went to high school with Hilaria in Massachusetts, with her name even being in the alumnus of the Massachusetts high school. Her classmates even exposed her for going by a different name back then, fully a white girl from Cambridge and, quote, did not have her current accent, even adding she went by Hillary back then. Internet sleuths then found her name is actually Hillary Hayward Thomas, and that she grew up in Massachusetts. Another classmate tweeted out, quote, "I went to high school with her. Genuinely lovely person, I recall, but a fully white girl from Cambridge." As a response to all the stuff coming out about her on Twitter, Hilaria took to Instagram to address everything. In the video, she says she was, quote, born in Boston, but adding she's also a different kind of Bostonian, one who spent, quote, some of her childhood in Spain, saying that she went back and forth from the two places her whole life, and that she's bilingual, and that her accents get mixed up when she's nervous, and it's something she's always been insecure about. As to her name, Baldwin said that she uses the name Hillary in the US and Hilaria in Spain, saying, quote, "My parents, they call me Hilaria, my whole family calls me Hilaria," and then eventually she noted she decided to consolidate under Hilaria to minimize any confusion. Then going on to talk about her culture, saying, quote, "Yes, I am a white girl. Europe has a lot of white people in there. My family is white. Ethnically, I'm a mix of many things. Culturally, I grew up with the two cultures." So it's really as simple as that. But people didn't take well to all that, with a lot of comments asking her about her fake accent, and then asking how she can call herself Spanish if she only vacationed there. And then because the response to that was also not good, she posted yet another video, clarifying in the video, quote, "First thing I told my husband is that I was born in Boston," she said. Quote, "I spent a lot of my childhood in Spain. My nuclear family lives in Spain and has lived there for a long time." Adding, quote, "I was moving around a lot, but I came here when I was 19 years old to go to college." Adding, "I never said that my mother was Spanish. My family is a big mix of so many different things." And in that video, she really said a lot without saying a lot, but the subtext of it all was that she was mad people were making this into such a big deal and wondering why people have such an issue with her background. But the reaction to the second video was even worse than the last video, with people flat out accusing her of cultural appropriation, and saying that it's clear she tried to make a brand for herself as a Spanish person to be more interesting, with people telling her just to admit it instead of playing dumb. As of now, it seems like no one's really believing her responses, and her comment section is basically her fans forgiving her and saying this whole situation is dumb, and then her critics telling her to own up to just being white. Honestly, this whole thing is incredibly dumb, and she's not getting canceled because she really doesn't deserve to be. However, she does need to own up to the truth and stop acting like we're the problem after it said that she was born in Spain on Wikipedia for God knows how long. There's also this gem allegedly from her cousin saying that she's not Spanish at all, which of course doesn't make things any better. A blog post by Hilaria's father was also just discovered, where he flat out writes, quote, "My path in life has been heavily influenced by Spanish language and culture, and not because I have an iota of Latin blood in my veins," Thomas writes. The post was published on internationalintegrators.org, a company Page 6 reports he co-founded with his wife, with Thomas writing in the blog post that he became fascinated with Spanish culture at a young age, and he learned Spanish because his father said he would take him to Argentina if he did. Hilaria has not spoken out more since last week, but her family is showing support. Billy Baldwin and his wife Cynthia Phillips sat down with the New York Post, Page 6, on December 29th to talk about the drama, empathizing with Hilaria and commenting their support, saying, quote, "This is probably an awkward and embarrassing time for Alec and Hilaria," Billy shared, noting that he's been in touch with Alec throughout the whole scandal, making it clear that he stands with his brother. So that's really all for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts below. This is just a strange one. I guess a good one to hop right into 2021 with. It's just like the weirdest scandal, but we do deserve to know the truth, so I hope she does something about it. Britney Spears is one of the most legendary pop singers of all time, breaking records with her first album and becoming a pop icon basically overnight. But she's had a lot of trouble along the way too, dealing with issues related to substance abuse and mental illness. Britney Jean Spears was born on December 2nd of 1981 in Macomb, Mississippi, the second child of Lynn Irene Bridges and James Parnell Spears. Her other siblings were Brian James and Jamie Lynn Spears, who'd go on to become famous in her own right from the show Zoe 101. And since the family was from the Bible Belt, she was baptized as a Southern Baptist and sang in a church choir as a child. Britney got a very early start to her singing career. At just the age of 8, her mother took her to audition for the coveted Mickey Mouse Club. The casting director found her too young for that role, but encouraged her to enroll at the Professional Performing Arts School, which Britney ended up doing, moving to New York to do so. Britney's first role was the lead role of Tina Denmark in the off-Broadway musical Ruthless. In December of 1992, she was cast in the Mickey Mouse Club alongside tons of notable names like Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling, just to name a few. The show ended up getting canceled in 1996, and she moved back to Mississippi for her teen years. But she wasn't satisfied with that and wanted more out of her life. Then in about 1998 to 2000 is when her career really took off with the release of Baby One More Time and Oops, I Did It Again. Before the songs made a name for her, she was the opening act for NSYNC on their tour. Her debut studio album, Baby One More Time, was released on January 12th of 1999, and it debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200 and was certified 2 times platinum, also becoming the biggest selling album ever by a teenage artist. Baby One More Time later received a Grammy nomination for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. The album has since sold 25 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time, and the best-selling debut album for any artist. But as you all know, her glory days did not last too long, and with the massive amount of success Britney was having, she was also susceptible to some huge downfalls, which famously happened in 2006 to 2008. One of Britney's worst scandals was from 2006, when pictures were released of Britney holding her toddler son in her lap while driving, instead of a car seat as he was supposed to be. She got tons of backlash from child advocates, and Britney blamed it on paparazzi. Then in September of 2006, she gave birth to her second son with Kevin Federline, but only a few months later, she filed for divorce. Their divorce was finalized in July of 2007, when the couple reached a global settlement and agreed to share joint custody of their sons. Then in February of 2007, the day after getting released from a rehab facility, she shaved her head with electric clippers at a hair salon in Tarzana, Los Angeles, with her being admitted into a treatment facility because of the incident shortly after. In October of 2007, Spears lost physical custody of her sons to Federline as well. Shortly after, Britney released her 5th studio album, Blackout, in 2007, in record time, considering all she went through just the months earlier. And it got critical and commercial acclaim, still being one of her most popular albums and my personal favorite of hers. Later on in January of 2008 was when she was forced to hand over her kids to Federline, but she refused, and it took hours as well as the help of police for the custody to pass. She was then hospitalized and placed on a psychiatric hold after she appeared to be under the influence of substances. Based on Britney's mental health state at that time, the courts didn't believe Britney could take care of herself, and she was placed under conservatorship led by her father, Jamie Spears. and attorney Andrew Wallet, giving them complete control over her assets, which we know became an issue many years later. And since about 2018, the main focus of Britney's life has been her conservatorship and getting someone other than her father in charge of it. The hashtag Free Britney movement was started by her fans as they felt she was getting kind of taken advantage of. Something else kind of suspicious was the fact that Britney has been incredibly active in her career since the conservatorship was implemented, leading people to believe that she's her father's workhorse. Until 2019, Spears dropped an album every 2 or 3 years. She also had a 4-year Las Vegas residency, with her final performance grossing $1.1 million, the highest ever recorded for a single theater Las Vegas residency show. Concern rose again in the beginning of 2019 when Britney revealed that she was going to be taking a step back from her career to check into a mental health facility. Then shortly after, a podcast called Britney's Gram released a voicemail from an anonymous source that claimed to be involved in her conservatorship and said that Britney was forced to go into the mental health facility. Apparently, she was not taking her medication, and her father took away the tour as a result. Then around the same time in 2019, Spears' lawyer, Andrew Wallet, resigned as co-conservator, but didn't give a reason for his resignation, giving Jamie full control. Shortly after, she asked a judge to get rid of the conservatorship, but that was denied. After that hearing in May, Britney's manager scared fans when he said that he wasn't sure if she will ever want to work again. In a second hearing in September of 2019, Jamie asked to be temporarily removed as conservator because he had health issues to deal with. The role dealing with her personal life was temporarily appointed to Britney Spears' care manager, but Jamie still had control over her finances. This temporary removal of Jamie also came after an altercation with one of her sons, and the child's dad, Kevin Federline, opened an investigation against Jamie. Around this time in 2019, Britney's mother, Lynn Spears, who was divorced from Jamie, filed a legal motion in 2019 to be involved in the conservatorship process, clearly taking Britney's side in everything. As well, her younger sister Jamie Lynn has also been supporting her sister. Throughout the months of the legal battle, Britney was granted the ability to add more lawyers to her legal team, but Jamie was never removed as conservator, and his time has only been extended further. And after multiple court hearings, the judge has extended the conservatorship through February of 2021. As a response, Britney's lawyer made a statement saying, quote, "Britney herself is vehemently opposed to this effort by her father to keep her legal struggle hidden away in a closet as a family secret," with the lawyer adding that the Free Britney movement is far from being a conspiracy theory, and that the social media scrutiny over Jamie's attempts to keep the court's hearings private is reasonable. But thankfully, months later in November, the judge approved Bessemer Trust as a co-conservator of Britney Spears' estate alongside Jamie, meaning for the foreseeable future, he will not have sole control. This whole story is really a wild ride, and it's so sad to see someone who has been as successful as Britney can't be in control of the money that she generated from that success. But we have to trust that the court is doing their job. However, I still don't understand why they won't just give the conservatorship to someone else like Britney wants. Like, it's not like she's asking for it back, she just wants it in better hands. And since it's her money, I really don't see the issue. But obviously, it's not my choice to decide. If you watch Keeping Up or are a fan of basketball, then you probably know who Larsa Pippen is, because she's longtime BFFs with the Kardashians and got her name from being married to Scottie Pippen for 20 years. There's also a lot of scandal surrounding Larsa, her involvement with Kardashian men, and the way her kids feel about her recent dating life. So for a quick bio on Larsa, she was born in Chicago, graduated from the University of Illinois with a political science degree, and got married to Scottie Pippen in 1997. And while she was married to the basketball star, she leveraged her position to get on season 1 of The Real Housewives of Miami and on multiple appearances of Keeping Up. Larsa's relationship with her ex-husband Scottie got rocky in 2016 after she was accused of cheating on her husband with the rapper Future. The two left his magazine cover party together, and then Larsa was seen making multiple trips with Future on his private jet. But Larsa denied those rumors, posting online that her split was because she was lonely because Scottie was never around. Then in another tweet she said, quote, "I was married to him for 20 years. I did everything for him and my family. People change, and that's what really happened. Most people can't even imagine being in a relationship for a week, so I know it's beyond imagination. Cheating wasn't the problem." But Future seemed to confirm the cheating rumors in a 2017 song called Rent Money, in which the rapper alludes to sleeping with Larsa. Future appears to diss Scottie in the song as well, with some explicit lyrics. But then her and Scottie got back together in 2017, with Scottie allegedly making it happen by buying her a $4 million ring. But Larsa ended up filing for divorce again in 2018. Since then, she has had quite the interesting dating history, being linked to Tristan Thompson, Harry Jowsey, even allegedly Chris Humphries, and most recently Malik Beasley. And you might be thinking, wait, she dated Tristan, aka Khloe's baby daddy? How did I not know this before? Well, that's because she only revealed it very recently, and a lot of people think that that might be part of the reason that she's not friends with the Kardashians anymore. She spilled the tea when she was a guest on the Hollywood Raw podcast, with her admitting that she dated Tristan right before he started dating Khloe, and she's also responsible for introducing them too. Saying in the interview, quote, "I kind of was seeing Tristan before Khloe or any of them even knew he existed. I was seeing him. I had him come to LA. I brought him to a party Kim Kardashian West had. I introduced him to all of them, and then a week later, maybe 10 days later, he started seeing Khloe," but adding that she didn't really care and she will never chase a man. Then she also admitted that she was the one that broke the news of the Jordan cheating scandal to the family, because she had connections with Jason Lee, who owns Hollywood Unlocked, who broke the story. This was also around the time that Kanye West was on one of his Twitter storms, and he tweeted out just Larsa with a thinking face, basically alluding to something sketchy. After that happened, the world realized that the Kardashians no longer followed Larsa on anything, and there was clearly a falling out because they were BFFs only a few months before, with some people even thinking that Larsa might have cheated with Tristan on Khloe because he was clearly having affairs with multiple women, and since they had already dated, it's not really that much of a long shot. Larsa's response to this was that Kanye brainwashed the family into not liking her, because allegedly Kanye would call her all the time and vent to her in the middle of the night, and she ended up blocking his number because she couldn't take it anymore. But the Kardashians said it was just a simple falling out of touch. But now onto some more recent tea. Larsa Pippen was just spotted out with 24-year-old basketball player Malik Beasley, and there was so much wrong with this. Firstly, Malik actually has a wife at home, Montana Yao, so he was publicly cheating, and he actually has a son with that wife too. Yao responded to the news of the photos by writing on her Instagram, quote, "Wow, I don't even know this man. This is wild, y'all. I'm seeing it for the first time just like you guys." Then adding, quote, "The truth always comes out one way or another." And there are actually reports that she has filed for divorce in the midst of all of this. To make things worse, Larsa has a 20-year-old son, Scottie Pippen Jr., who's currently at Vanderbilt trying to follow in the steps of his pro basketball star dad. And since Larsa has dated so many guys in the NBA, usually that are closer in age to her son, that is clearly creating issues in her son's life. And he's no longer hiding it, with Scottie Jr. getting caught liking tons of tweets on Twitter, seemingly against his mother's actions. With one reading, quote, "Look at how disappointed in his mama he is. This breaks my heart." And another that read, "I feel bad for Scottie Pippen Jr. Honestly, that young man has to deal with this every other week. Enough is enough." He even liked another that said that his mom was clout chasing, along with him tweeting out in the midst of the scandal, quote, "Focused on myself and my goals. I'm not responsible for nobody's actions. All good over here." And the fact that there's a potential that she could have dated one of his former or future teammates, I'm sure that makes his professional life a little more complicated. And honestly, if she wants to date young guys, she can. Just don't make them basketball players for the sake of your son. So guys, that's all I have for the story today. Let me know your thoughts below. For me, I just really want to know what happened between her and the Kardashians, as there were rumors that she cheated with Tristan on Khloe, but it's so hard to know like what exactly happened. Please let me know what you're thinking down below.